and retail sales. We will break that down and more. We will talk about some earnings from luxury brands like Burberry. We will talk about a commercial property in Texas. But let's get right into it. Let's talk about what happened, where we go from here, and what my predictions are. So first and foremost, we'll get right into it. We will talk inflation. We will talk CPI, Consumer Price Index. Again, folks, remember when we talk inflation and CPI, we talk four numbers: headline, core, month on month, year on year, right? So we will be going through four numbers. First, we will talk CPI headline. CPI headline last was 3.5. Expectations were 3.4. Actuals were 3.4. So we came in as expected, and we have now broken trend, and we have our first month of 2024 trending down. How about headline month on month? Headline month on month was expected to come in at 0.4. It actually came in at 0.3. So slightly better than expected. All right, so that's headline. What about core? Core X food, X energy. Last, 3.8. Expected, 3.6. What did we get? We got 3.6. So again, we got what was expected on year, and it is a significant drop, 0.2 in a single month. And oh, by the way, we've seen some other rollovers going on. So it'll see what happens next month. Then we have month on month for core. Estimate was 0.3. Actual was 0.3. So I would argue that CPI was untold slightly better than expected. I did have a fear and shared it here that inflation would be slightly worse given the trend. I was wrong. But now, about the most important number of the week, it was retail sales. And again, retail sales for me, as I think I shared earlier in the week, is going to be like the canary in the coal mine. What is truly going on with the consumer? So again, what happened with retail sales? Last month was up 1%. Expectations were 0.6, so it was expected to come in slightly lower, but still pretty significant when you look at retail sales. It actually came in flat. So a big miss to the downside. Now for what they call the control group. The control group I'm sorry, I got these numbers mixed up. Let me rewind. Headline number for retail sales was at last 0.6, expectations 0.4, actuals 0. I was reading the control group earlier. So the control group last was up 1%, expectations 0.6, actually negative 0.3. And that's where I was going earlier in the week when I thought retail sales could print a negative number. And that is what happened. So, okay, what do those two numbers mean? Well, from where I sit, it really puts stagflation as a real possibility. And for a lot of you watching this, you were not around for the 70s. You should really research the 1970s. Stagflation was not all that great. You're sort of stuck in the mud. So again, we still have time to get out of this. We still have time for a soft landing or a recession, all of that. But I do think it's looking more and more likely. And to that end, I found a Charlie Munger quote. This is from a Charlie Munger who has unfortunately passed away. Rest in peace. This was from a CNBC interview on January 29th, 2023. So what would that be, like 16 months ago? Charlie Munger says, "You may wish we had a Volcker-style recession instead of what you are going to get." So what does Charlie Munger mean by that? Charlie Munger, in my opinion, means that the Fed should be aggressive. They should force the U.S. economy into a recession because we know how to beat a recession. The second part of Charlie Munger's quote again, we got to remember Charlie Munger was almost 100. I think he was 99, I think. Charlie Munger is telling you, you are not going to like stagflation. Again, folks, if you want to go look this up, you may wish we had a Volcker-style recession instead of what you are going to get. This is stuff we have to pay attention to. The other thing to remember is this is all not doom and gloom. Even if we have stagflation, which will undoubtedly suck, there are moves that we can all make. So again, don't put your head in the sand. Understand what's going on. Do the work. Just keep moving forward. You're going to be alive in 10 years. Invest like it, like our boy Dion says. So now as a real estate channel, what does this mean? CPI finally going lower after 3 months of going higher. Retail sales being weak as we expected. Well, here is my call. And I want to call this early. In fact, I just called this on Twitter or X about 10 minutes ago. 1, I expect the 30-year mortgage rate to go sub 7% by the end of the week. That's call number 1. Call number 2, we are going to find out if marginal demand is greater than a nervous consumer. My expectation, my prediction, my guess is yes. Marginal demand will dwarf a scared consumer. Now, what does that mean? Marginal demand, I have said for the better part of a year now, sub 7% unlocks marginal demand. We have an entire consumer base now that remembers 8% mortgage rates, and 6% is a deal. Okay, great. So if you believe that, Michael, so what? Well, here's the so what. I believe we have been trending thanks to Altos Research and Resi Club and Housing Wire, all these great data firms. We have seen active inventory build for most of this year. If I am right, rates go sub 7, marginal demand is unlocked, we will see active inventory roll over in 3 to 4 weeks. You will just have more pendings. So that's what I think is happening. The Fed clearly is leaning towards a cut. They got the inflation print on CPI they were hoping for. They got a weak consumer, a weakening consumer. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll know if I'm right in 4 weeks. If we see active inventory roll over in the next 4 weeks, that's what's going on. So what else about CPI is interesting? Did you know that car insurance and shelter, 2 components, made up 78% of core? And remember, core was 3.6%. As we have talked about for the better part of a year, shelter is a lagging indicator. It is a horrible calculation of today's actual data. It is lagging. So if you have car insurance and shelter at 78% and you know, some people are backing out shelter, inflation is basically 2%. So if you are in the camp that shelter will continue to roll over, and it has, I think shelter maxed out at like 9% of inflation. Now it's like 5.5%. So it is on a trajectory down. So it is very interesting. What is up, Bitcoin man? We are in a recession, moving from 5% to 15%. I'm not sure what that is. Cash, I think he said. So yeah, it is. It's going to be really interesting. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about recession. I think most of us have historical context like the dot-com in the Great Recession, where everything breaks. And, you know, if you go back to the 1970s, most recessions were that way. I think I've shared for the better part of 2 years now that my kind of base case is a rolling recession. I will agree that stagflation, I will agree that a recession odds are increasing. The rolling recession, again, I have an econ degree and MBA. A rolling recession was one of those things that I remember talking about with the professors. Like, it was always a theory. and we always had to stretch. I think it was 89. I forget what year it was, but we always looked at one year and like, that kind of is a rolling recession. Rolling recession actually can happen without GDP going negative. And that's what really makes it different than other recessions. Other recessions, 2 quarters of negative GDP, rising unemployment, you know the drill. A rolling recession does not technically have to have a negative GDP. It will be below trend. It will probably be below 1%, but it may not be negative. So it's going to be interesting. And again, with all the government spending, don't we have like another $1.7 trillion and I don't know, some Inflation Reduction Act money coming? I don't know. I don't know. But that's why we talk every day. That's why we give you the news every day. So again, very, very interesting stuff. I do want you to know, folks, that the school community is going live today at 8 a.m. If you are part of the school community, you will have the opportunity to participate in a discussion with Dion and Matt and I. There's a link in the calendar. More importantly, I want to let you know that Anna Kelly has agreed to do a school session next Tuesday at 8 a.m. So again, you're going to have the opportunities to interact with our millionaires. A couple of things. No, they will not always be at 8 a.m. So again, we will be scheduling these as time permits at different times. I know early mornings might be bad for you. Second, the recordings will be available on school if you want to listen to. And then most importantly, as my school community builds, I will be releasing content only for the school community. For example, maybe there's a conversation that the students ask me to have with Anna Kelly, for example. We have that discussion, her and I will publish that only on school, right? There is some content as stuff goes forward that will only be available in the school community. And again, I will only be going live in the school community. I'm going to go back to doing lives where you can ask me questions and interact and all of that. That will only ever be done in school. So I'm really excited for where we're going with this. It is very, very helpful. Did I see Resi Cub population article? I'm actually sent Lance a text that we will hopefully be talking about that this Thursday. So I have seen it. I have not read it in detail. But where I will say, generally speaking, on population articles is it takes decades to play out. But I will definitely speak with Lance. He and I talk every Thursday. So thank you for the question. Let's talk about this building in Texas. Man, some of this office discount is crazy. Tallest building in the city of Fort Worth, Texas. 567 feet tall, 40 stories. Just sold for a whopping 90% discount. Folks, this building was purchased in 2021 for $137.5 million. Let's call it 138. It just sold back to the bank for $12.3 million. 12.3 million. Its vacancy is at 22%. So this stuff is bad. How about California? California setting a record. California set a record. 187 commercial foreclosures in the month of March. That is an all-time record. Folks, I have been warning about this for 18 months. I did a video with Jonathan Twomley showing you how we could take a $100 million building and turn it into sub 50 million. It is happening right now. I have receipts. Now, on the flip side, this is also going to create opportunity. For example, if you were the buyer of that, what was it, 567 square feet, 40-story building, what could you do? Well, it is very likely that the footprint is something that is not easily changeable, right? This whole, hey, go ahead and convert office to multifamily. That's cute to say, but unless you've actually done a remodel, you will realize it's unlikely. That said, you have to assume if you go into that building and just recycle its components, You are probably going to get at least half that money back, right? All the copper and other stuff. And then, oh, by the way, the land has value. So you could turn a profit by recycling the components and selling the dirt after it's demoed. So pretty crazy. And again, one of the reasons this is important, this commercial talk, and it's actually the biggest reason why I think Peter Zeihan is just wrong in his call about higher rates, is the damage it would do to regional banks. We already have a Fed list of 292 small institutions, most of those below 10 billion. That would frankly go, and you would probably pull down another 200 or 300 if rates stayed higher for longer. I think the Fed knows this. I think the Fed is watching. Regional banks hold about 80% of the outstanding debt on commercial. So again, it is very much a localized institution. So let me tell you about a very important video coming out at 6 o'clock today. This for me was an awesome discussion with the One Rental at a Time follower, but I want you to hear the mindset shift. A lot of what we go through and we struggle is our own mind. So here we go. It's a conversation with Sarah. Sarah served, so she's out already, served in the military for 20 plus years. She realized that joining the military would be her path to wealth. The reason that she saw this as her path to wealth is because she saw the opportunity to use VA loans and build a real estate portfolio as her duty station changed over her 20 years. That mental shift is so powerful. Why? What mental shift am I talking about? Well, folks, if you've served in the military or you know folks who served in the military, it is very common for them to say, I won't buy a home because I will change my duty station every 3 years. Sarah flipped that and said, I'm going to buy a home because I will have my duty stationed every 3 years. Now, as you will hear in her story that comes out at 6 o'clock tonight, she bought below the median. She bought stuff that would cash flow. She was very purposeful in what she bought. But now that she's done, she has her pension, she has her portfolio of single family homes, and she is crushing it. Oh, by the way, she joined the military as a single mom with 2 kids. She was a teenage mother. Think about the odds of success. Just think about that. All it took was one mental shift is I'm not going to buy a home because I changed my duty station to I will buy a home because I changed my duty station. What mental roadblock do you have that is holding you back? I don't know. I see a lot of them. Just that mental shift. So last thing we will do is we will congratulate someone who did the work. Adam, congratulations for getting, I think you said your 11th deal. Might have been 10th. I think it was 11th. Congratulations for getting your 11th deal, Adam. Your card will be in the mail. Remember, folks, we have gold cards for your first deal, black cards for any deal after that, and I even have purple cards. If you are stuck in analysis and paralysis and you just need to write that first disrespectful offer and it's hard for you, I want to recognize you and I will send you a purple ticket just so you can, feel good about what you have done. Alrighty, folks, I got to get ready for our school community. Again, it's a private community where you will get access to our millionaires, where we'll have free education, where you will be able to ask questions and drive the conversation. And as we grow, it will have unique content only for my students. So we'll see you there. Again, check out Sarah's interview. It was so awesome. I think it comes out at 6 o'clock tonight. Later.